What up, everybody? Welcome back to the anime version. You got me, Gozen from Anime Uproar, and my co-host, Briggs. What up, Briggs?
What up, boys? Good to be back after a little 2-week break. I mean, maybe not to the people on YouTube, but the people on Twitch and Spotify. We took 2 weeks off. One time I wasn't feeling too well, and then I am still doing the never-ending Nuxtaku challenge, but I was able to make it this time, and I'm super excited to talk about Season 2, Part 1 of ReZero.
And you are still Beastly Briggs on Twitch, right?
Briggs 88.
Okay, Briggs 88.
The rebrand.
Briggs 88. Check it out. He'll probably, when this goes live, he'll probably still be doing it. So show him some support.
Yeah.
The never-ending stream.
I'm not fucking leaving.
And obviously we have the ReZero version. Too Spooky. What up?
Oh, it is good to be back, but I think you failed to mention that you and I were both virgins this time around.
Yes, I did.
We
I
are
want to hide
virgin
my
squared.
virginity at all times.
So this
Nothing
is the
to be
first
ashamed
time-
of.
This is the first time both Spooky and Gozen are experiencing the Season 2 of ReZero. I have watched Part 1 before, but it was a while ago, so I rewatched it again. And then next week, when we cover the second half of Season 2, all three of us will technically be anime virgins, which is super pog.
Three
Virgin
virgins in one podcast, bro. It's gonna be hype. Let's just say that.
Very excited.
Yeah, and I just want to my initial thoughts for this was, yeah, I think it's going in a more interesting direction, and I loved the introduction of multiple witches. Echidna, I was a huge fan of all the other witches and their powers. I can't wait to learn more about that. There was some crazy twists here, but Spooky, what did you think of this one?
I think overall, a lot of what you said, I definitely agree with. I liked the world building with all the witches and stuff, and all the different powers and how all those things are working. This mystery of the sanctuary with why certain people can't leave in these trials. There's just a lot of pieces being set up in this part of the season, and I think really my only complaint is similar to what I had in the first part of Season 1, where I feel like they're in one spot for too long. I feel like in this season so far, the only thing that I'm complaining about is that they're in the sanctuary and they're back at the mansion. That's the only places they go the entire
See,
time.
I
Yeah.
kind of like the fact that it was more focused this time around. It was 13 episodes, and I feel like in Season 1, they kind of, yes, they were stuck repeating the same events over and over again in the same location, but I feel like the plot kind of bounced around, and I didn't, you were kind of confused, and there was all these questions that weren't being answered. You jumped from, witch cult to election to a whale in the sky, and people being killed at the mansion, and robbery, and, it connected better on my second watch. But there was a lot going on, and this time it's there's the one place, and I appreciated maybe we'll actually figure out the mystery. We kind of figured out the mystery behind the sanctuary because they focused on it, So
It was more straightforward,
Pros
but
and
we're
cons.
It was
still
easier
in
to
it,
follow.
right?
It was
Yeah,
easier for me
still
to
in.
follow. For sure.
No, I appreciate that too when shit isn't too complicated to follow, but I will never take away from that whale stuff, man, because that was epic.
Oh yeah, that's still my highlight, I'd say.
Yeah, me too. And we learned about that. We learned about the two other plagues or whatever they called it that witch created.
rabbits.
One of
The
which are
rabbits.
rabbits, which don't sound dangerous, but holy fuck. It reminds me, I
Yo.
read this story when I was a kid about this vampire rabbit. And it was probably the stupidest thing ever, but it made me view rabbits in a scary light for the first time, and this keeps doing that.
It just reminds me, I just got done watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer not too long ago.
I've heard
My
good
favorite
things.
character hates rabbits, terrified of them, and now I get it. Now I understand. The whole time I'm like, what's so bad about rabbits? But now, after seeing that, no thanks. No.
Exactly. No, that was interesting. I like when they take animals that usually you view as cute and cuddly and just make them murderers.
And they even pointed out that the rabbits are technically worse than the whale.
Yeah, the whale.
More, the whale's stronger physically and could probably do more damage to the world. But the rabbits are actually going to be more difficult to kill because they're pretty much immortal unless you kill them all at the same time.
And they hungry.
Roswell
hungry.
couldn't handle the rabbits. Subaru,
No.
they were helpless. They were helpless in front of them.
And we'll get into Roswell because what
Oh
the
my
fuck,
God.
Roswell?
This guy.
What do
Oh my
we do?
God.
This guy.
Roswell is definitely Roswell and Echidna. Top 2 favorite characters in the series for sure for me.
Roswell is the Aaron we should have gotten. No. But yeah, you guys want to go now chronologically?
Yeah. So where did we
go through
start? I know you guys watched this 2 weeks ago. So from what I remember, like at the end of season 1, they defeat Betelgeuse, and then they realize that Roswell and Ram and a bunch of villagers went to the sanctuary. So they start off this season by going to the sanctuary, if I remember correctly.
Oh, and the whole thing with Rem too.
Yeah,
That's
Rem.
Yes.
Rem was, I guess, again erased, which is I thought it was just a meme for that
Let's
season,
fucking go.
but it keeps going. Sam, thank you so much for the donation. But yeah, like it just keeps going, bro. The where's Rem thing? Who's Rem? It just keeps going.
Who? It breaks my heart to say it, but who?
Yeah, man.
I think that's why the season was superior, because Rem wasn't in it.
Oh, dude, let's not get ahead of ourselves, okay? Let's not.
Bro,
yeah, I know.
I remember like the whole Rem versus Amelia debate for the longest time. Like, who's a better character? Who's a better wife? Like, I like Echidna so much more than both of them at this point.
Yeah, Echidna's great. I gotta admit.
I won't talk about it right now because we should probably stay chronological. But yeah, we start off with the whole who's Rem thing, and they make their way to the sanctuary, right? If you want to take it from here, Spooky or Gozen.
Well, I want to say they get to the sanctuary, right? And then he's asking about Rem and no one knows what he's talking about. So he tries to reset real quick. And that's when he realizes that Rem is gone and he can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Right? I feel
that's fascinating. Yeah, that's a fascinating idea where for the first time, all of a sudden, he can't just reset his problem.
Yeah. When he goes back to, like, when he resets it, he realizes Rem's already like that. Like, his reset point has changed at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a game changer. And I feel like they needed to get Rem out of the way for there to be more Amelia moments. Because Rem steals the spotlight with her, I guess, aggressive approach compared to Amelia. Mm-hmm. You know, so I feel like by putting her in a coma, it's like, yeah, let's develop Amelia a bit. So that's kind of the storytelling reason for that.
That's so funny. That's like making sure Goro from Jujutsu Kaisen isn't there for the fight. Let's take Rem out of the equation for now, so we can focus on another character, so that like Subaru doesn't have too much support here. You know?
Yeah.
No, exactly.
I already goldfish brain too because they went to the mansion after, not right to the sanctuary.
Dude, I watched this yesterday and today, and I already don't remember.
But we got to meet the new maids. That's
yes,
like, what happens.
Oh,
yes.
Gojo, my bad.
We got to see the crocodile maid.
Frederica? Is that her
crocodile
name?
Frederica, I think so.
Frederica?
Yeah, Frederica, yeah. You just look up Frederica, you'll get ReZero, so people are fans of her. No, that was cool. Like, I like the unique teeth she had going on.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the same time, it's like, yo, that stands out. At the other time, it's like, yeah, I don't hate it. It's cool.
And it was kind of cool that like she was a returning maid. It wasn't even like she's a new maid. Like we had like the little girl's now a new maid. I don't remember her name.
I think Petra.
Yes. But the other one was a returning maid. She's like been there for 10. She was there 10 years ago, or Ram and her have known each other for 10 years, and then she left at one point, right? Like before Subaru came. Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, we had. They're not just like throwing in characters out of nowhere. It's actually like, oh yeah, she was here before. Mm-hmm. Petra coming in is an interesting development, and you get Subaru completely surrounded by his harem more and more.
I also like how even though she's like a returning maid, everyone like Ram and Subaru and whoever else, they're just still kind of like really suspicious of her. Mm-hmm. Like even though they like a lot of the characters know her already, they're still kind of like, yeah, we don't know what's up with her, so watch out. Like there's this entire other thing because for the longest time, like when she gives him that little necklace to show to, or no, it was her brother. Never mind, I'm backing myself up here.
Yeah, there was that necklace that made Amelia.
Did you give it to him?
I'm pretty sure Frederica gives a necklace to Amelia, and then later on, Garfield,
her brother, has a different one.
Has a different necklace that he gives to Subaru, and then later Ram.
Yeah, that's why they were suspicious of her because they didn't know why, like what it was for.
Yeah, and I'm still like, I still don't know why. Did we figure out why, or
I don't remember. It's been
Dude, yeah,
so
I don't
long.
remember what that necklace does.
like clearly she can be trusted. She's a good guy. Like we saw her later, fast forwarding a bit, using her tiger form or whatever it is to fight against Elsa. But yeah, I wonder why she gave the necklace that ended up kind of harming them in a way.
Yeah, I guess
Well, no, I
maybe
don't think the
since
necklace harmed them.
well, didn't
Well,
like it knock her out when they first went in the
yeah,
sanctuary?
Amelia like passed out.
I for some reason I didn't think it was because of the necklace. I thought it was because she entered and she's a half breed, like she's half
That
mixed. She has mixed blood, and now that she's
Yeah.
entered, something affected her soul, and she won't be able to leave now.
that could also
Okay.
be it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, this will probably all clear up more as we go on, but we're just like versions trying
Yeah,
to
I
feel
don't, I
out.
don't
Yeah,
remember.
yeah.
I don't remember what those necklaces actually do. I'm curious to look that up afterwards.
Yeah, like I'm guessing maybe it was just in case Garfield was all suspicious of them. They could just show and be like, "Yeah, your sister gave this to us, so like back off." But
That definitely makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And it's like if they're like, we know your sister and we have the necklace as proof, that's obviously even more convincing.
hmm but until we go back to the mansion, it was just kind of used as like a okay, what's the whole purpose of this type of thing? So it added this level of mystery for a while that I liked.
So Echidna, we were introduced to her the first time they're kind of going towards that area, and then it's almost like you don't know if it's a dream, you don't know what's going on, and suddenly Echidna is in front of her, in front of Subaru, having a tea party with
Okay,
just herself.
I have a question
And
for you guys, real
yeah,
quick.
go ahead.
So
Yeah.
when they come in contact with the barrier, Amelia passes out, and Subaru ends up getting teleported to Echidna, the Witch of Greed, right, in this other like world type thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was anyone else annoyed by Subaru's interactions with Echidna the first two times, or was it just me?
Can you tell me what you were annoyed about?
I just want to hear like your like spooky. No,
Because I
I
don't
don't
recall
think so.
exactly.
I was a
How?
little just annoyed at how quickly Subaru just wanted to fucking leave and not ask any questions.
Oh.
Pretty much the first two times around. And the
I
third
could-
time.
I guess
And
I
the
could see
third
that.
time, he was about to make a contract without even fucking listening to the contract.
Yeah.
That's like,
Yeah.
yo, he's literally a marketer's dream. Yes, just sign these papers here, and everything will be fine. Sure. Like, bruh.
Well, like I don't know. I guess the main question I feel like he needed to ask is just, hey, what do you know about this power? Like, does it have a limit? Like, I think that was a smart question for him to ask because at least then he knows, like, oh, I can repeat as much as I want, basically. Because that was a big question, like the entire time. Like,
Yes.
how long does this last?
So he eventually asked questions. It was just very funny to me that like a kid was like, "Yes, I know everything. Please ask me questions." Like, "Nah, fam. I'm gonna go back to Amelia later." He's
Yeah,
like,
I agree with
information
that.
is so important, and he is so lost and doesn't know anything about the world or what's going on. And he knows nothing about the sanctuary, about like the trials, about the witches, about his power, about why he's even there. What like about Roswell, about Beatrice? Like he has so many fucking questions he could ask, and he's just like, "Nah, I'm gonna go back to Amelia later, fam." Like that was the
I guess
first
that's-
time, and then the second time was kind of similar.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Spooky.
I was just gonna say, I feel like with like the first time, since it happened pretty fast, I could understand like maybe why he didn't have all those other things on his mind.
That's true.
But the second time, I guess you're kind of right where he doesn't have an excuse. Like, there's so many things happening. You'd think he'd have a couple questions, and she would know. Now that you say
Yeah.
it, like,
Oh, I'm
kinda
so,
frustrating.
so someone in my chat says it's on brand for Subaru to be like, I just want to go back to Amelia, and I
It is.
agree. It is
Yeah.
on brand for his character with no brain cells.
It is. That's the only thing I was gonna say. Like, it's definitely Subaru-esque behavior, but if we were in that situation, we'd probably be like wanting to know what the hell's going on. So there's that too. I was also very interested in like when he started going through his trials. Is there anything we want to cover before that happens?
Yes, I was very interested in the trials as well. So what happened? So the first time around, he goes into he talks to the Witch of Greed Echidna, and like what happens? I feel like he pretty much just leaves right away, more or less.
So the trial,
No. I mean the first time when he first gets talking to Echidna, because that's where we were at before I started complaining.
Yeah.
What happens there? He just pretty much leaves, and then he ends up fighting with Garfield a bit, and then they're able to go through and then Amelia tries to do the trial. Is that what happened?
Yeah, they're I don't know exactly like if it's right away. Spooky, do you remember?
I'm trying to think that I feel like they find out about the trials first, and they they introduce a couple characters
and the whole scenario.
Okay.
Yeah, so they go there pretty fast, regardless.
Yes, it was relatively quick. Also, Subaru does drink Echidna's bodily fluids. But at least he had like a mindset as to why he drank it without thinking. He's like, yeah, if you could have killed me like easily. You're a witch, so like why would you poison me? That's just a waste of time.
Yeah, that's so funny. It's like bodily fluids. Like, what bodily fluid are we dealing with here? But
yeah, for real.
And yeah, it's so funny because he's so, I guess, one-track mind that he's not at all interested in Echidna in like a romantic way. Whereas, you know, I mean, you could say she's just as pretty physically as Amelia is. So it's interesting to see.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they look a lot alike.
They do.
Yeah. Whenever I saw like promotional posters, I always kind of just thought that was Amelia, to be honest. But
Yeah, like a makeover or something.
yeah, or like, I don't know. My initial thoughts, because obviously I didn't know anything about the series, I was like, oh, she's gonna, you know, the big bad witch is gonna show up and take her over. Like that's what's gonna happen. But
I love how
no.
it's like like our images of witches. You know, anime has to make them all kawaii as fuck.
Yeah, yeah.
They're all
Dude.
super cute, and like they all have their issues for sure, and like they're all very evil in ways, but like they're not completely evil either. So it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, anime witches for the win, bro. Like, you know, we had those old ones with like big noses, and here you have like just the cutest girls with the cutest behavior. It's just you can't compete with anime witches.
So I guess a big question I have for both of you is, what did you guys think about the first trial for Subaru in particular? Because I feel like that sequence was one of my favorite parts.
Same.
Yeah, I thought it was amazing, and we needed it because we knew nothing about his past, and it's like, you know, you need his backstory to an extent, and the fact that they made it through a trial is interesting, and it was the first time we were seeing this. He was pretty much like a hikikomori, right? Like, he didn't want to go out. Obviously, he did step outside, so I don't know, like, the technical term if they never leave the house, but he definitely didn't want to go to school. He didn't want to do all that stuff, and it's just interesting to compare his behavior back then to how outgoing he is now.
And how outgoing he was in season 1, because I feel like that it ended up makes it this, like we needed that backstory, because it makes season 1 make a lot more sense to me how he acted.
Yeah.
And then also now the trial made him develop as a character as well. Go ahead, Spooky. I want to hear your version of thoughts on it.
Oh, it's more just like I really liked how, like, one kind of what you said, how it makes sense for how his character was, especially because mainly like he felt like he was living in his father's shadow, and like that affected him to like such a deep level that having to like confront that, it makes a lot more sense why he was so outgoing in this new world where, like, you know, nobody knows who his father is, so he kind of gets to be his own person.
Yeah, he gets
and just kind of
a
confronting
fresh
that was really
chance
interesting.
at like living in another world, right? Like I think that's kind of like the why people like isekai so much. It's like a fresh new chance in this fun fantasy world. Like it's a new start, and for him, a hikikomori and someone who is so depressed in the other world, it's amazing. But I also want to note, like, so there was one moment when he had gone through so much bullshit or so much trauma that like he was even more outgoing, to the point that no one was even able to speak. He would just speak so much that no one was able to talk, and it ended up with him being like having a mental breakdown and crying in Amelia's lap. But for about a day, he was like extra outgoing. So for me, it feels like
it was creepy as fuck, though.
It feels like this very confident self that he is in season 1 is like a fake version of himself, of him like trying to be like, oh, I get a new start. Let me be confident. Let me be outgoing. Let me like, he's trying his best to like, he's putting on this fake version of himself. And then but like, he doesn't really, I don't know. I feel like the trial makes him develop as a character and accept his past.
I like that contrast you're setting up there between like him, the first part, and then like he's trying to act like someone he isn't. But yeah, the part he was back in the real world, I guess you could say, is not who he really was either. So he's trying to find
himself.
Obviously, overcorrecting in the beginning with like being super extrovert and stuff like that. But he's trying to find the right balance of who he is. And in a lot of ways, because as we talked about before, it's following him specifically and all of his reattempts to do it right. We're kind of getting to know his own personal odyssey and how he's becoming and getting to know himself and
Exactly.
becoming the person he wants to be.
Because I always just felt like the confidence that he had, given the fact that he was kind of powerless in a lot of scenarios, like this doesn't make sense. And I feel like this makes a lot more sense to me now. Even if you look at during the trial at one point, like when he first went to high school, he tried to act all confident and it just didn't work out. You know, I feel like this is something that he does.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's that plus the power of love that makes Subaru Subaru.
Yeah.
Yeah, power of love. And it's interesting as well that he, like his whole story, how he started out talented, right? Like he didn't have to try a lot and he'd be the first in races and stuff like that. But then slowly he's like, oh shit, people are passing me. And then he has that shadow of his father excelling and him not. And so it's like rather than trying to compete and losing, he just decided to take himself out of the world completely.
Mm-hmm.
Which kind of gives him agency, but not in a positive way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the first trial makes him confront his past in that way and not like just ignore it. And he has to kind of face. Cause I think a lot of the times when people become shut-ins or like have certain trauma or act certain ways, they just do it. They act a way without actually facing it. You know, they don't accept this is why I'm acting this way. Like this is why I'm hiding in my room and not leaving.
Yeah,
So it forcing you to like kind of acknowledge it yourself and like say it out loud. I am like a hikikomori because of all of this, this, and this. Gives you the chance to overcome it. That's why therapy is so good because you're able to talk it out with someone and like accept your shortcomings.
He moved through it rather than running away from it.
Exactly. He moved through it, accepted it rather than running away. So like the first trial makes him develop in that way, accepting his past and what happened and kind of being able to move forward.
Yeah, his dad was just awesome.
Season 2 is so good. Season 2 is so good.
Let's just give credit to his father too for just being like such a great parent. His mom too, but they're just so great to him.
Bro,
yeah, and I know it's like his interpretation.
Slapped. Go to school.
Well, like I know that's also just his interpretation of them in his head too. Like because Echidna was building like off of his memories, right, to make all that happen. But even so, they're both still the GOAT.
Yeah.
Like he wanted his parents to be kind of be like I don't love you and just give up on him, and they never would, right? So it couldn't have that perspective.
Yeah, exactly. Or at least like push him and like not let him work it out himself. You know, they wanted like you said, like hit him or something and be like, "Yo, get to school. It isn't a choice." No, it's interesting, and yet. He eventually moved through it, and the interesting thing is Emilia is the one who fails that part of it, right? Which I can't wait to find out her backstory. What's this thing that's keeping her so fucked up?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we know she has a messed up backstory if she couldn't get through it, right?
Yeah, time and time again too. Like she kept trying,
and it makes her go crazy. Like it makes her like That's another
thing. To need Subaru.
I get confused. I feel like she becomes the witch. Like we all know at this point, after having watched this season, she looks pretty much identical to the Witch of Envy, right?
Oh,
yeah, bro. It's so weird. Saying. It's so weird. She does, and it's like, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, it's such a mystery because at the end of this season, in the other world with all the witches, we see the Witch of Envy. She invaded, and we see her face. She's Amelia. She looks like Amelia. And then at the same point in time. While Amelia was trying to do her trials, she goes crazy, and at one point she even like became the witch. Like she had all this like fog around her and was killing people. Or was I could have. I don't know. Go ahead, sorry.
I could have sworn that at the end of season 1, they kind of found out like that the witch's cult's goal was to see if Amelia like is a vessel more or less for the Witch of Envy. So I feel like that's why maybe there is such a connection because they're probably insinuating that she probably is. So I imagine that's why like they're so similar because something's gonna come up with that down the line. I'm gonna assume there has to be. And the witch doesn't seem like the bad person she initially seemed like, right?
Yeah, it's true.
Like by the end of it, she's the one telling Subaru, "Yo, you need to show more love to yourself, not just to other people." And it's like the evil witch that we've been worried about this whole time is telling him to like love himself more. Like, what the fuck?
So was that the second trial? Because when Subaru was undergoing the second trial towards the end, he got to see a reality where every time he died, like that reality kind of people were
kept
Yeah,
going.
that was the second.
They got to see
Yeah.
him die. We don't know if it was really real, but like it's definitely possible that like all those realities exist.
Yeah, why
Wasn't
wouldn't
that
it
trial
be
number
real,
2?
yeah?
Or am I misremembering?
Yeah, exactly.
That was
I do
trial
think
2.
that's trial number 2.
Yes.
And it's interesting because I think we also assumed, kind of like when you're playing video games, it's like, oh, I'm just focused on me, right? And like, oh, I'm just starting again. Everything that would happen before, like, didn't happen. And them introducing the idea that all these people are in all these timelines or whatever dealing with his death and like grieving over it, that shocked me too, because I didn't consider that either.
Yeah, it just makes me think of Rick and Morty, because that happened in Rick and Morty with the Morty remote. And it makes me think of even Steins Gate, because Steins Gate has 2 different forms of time travel. One where Okabe just goes back on the same line, versus when he does something that like affects other lines, he could like skip. So like there's like 2 different forms of like time travel, and it like from Subaru's perspective, he thinks he's just going back, but now it's very possible that all those realities continue to exist after.
That's
there's no way of knowing if it's true.
That's world line theory, pretty much, where it's like you're not in one timeline. Every time you change something, you branch off into like another one. And then Steins Gate complicates it by being like, yeah, you could go to like specific ones, and No, I love time travel, so that's another thing I enjoyed about this.
Yeah, I feel like
what was the point of the second trial? What do you think the message was?
To probably to appreciate your life a little more and not just keep throwing it away, because if those timelines still go on, like think of all the people that you're negatively affecting. At least that's what I would take away from it.
I agree. I think in multiple ways. So one, like think about all those people are still gonna have to deal with you dying, but also towards the end, not Echidna. Fuck, I don't even know what her actual name is, but the witch of Envy, the one who brought her, or the one that like gave him like the return by death thing, even said like you have to love yourself. Like
what is it, Satella or something like that?
Yeah, Satella. Satella was the one saying love yourself, like because all he's been doing throughout both seasons is sacrificing himself to save others, never thinking of himself, just trying to save others. And it's funny because Roswell's kind of has a similar approach, but still kind of different, which we'll talk about. Yeah, I think the point of the second trial was another thing, like just having him improve as a person and realizing like you don't always need to sacrifice yourself. You can rely on others,
Yeah.
Yeah, and Otto is the star in a lot of ways.
The other goat, man.
Otto was amazing.
Subaru has been so much to the point that he didn't even realize that Otto was like just someone could care about him. He's always the one caring about others and protecting others. And Subaru couldn't even comprehend, like, Otto saved me? Otto risked his life to save me? He couldn't comprehend that.
And the craziest reason is, too, that, like, before, Otto literally shoved him off, right? When they were being chased by the whale.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's like they developed friendship since then. And now, rather than wanting to just save his own life, now he's willing to risk it for him. So I like showing that kind of contrast and the development of their friendship and how he's creating real bonds as he's moving forward in this world.
Exactly.
So moving past the first trial into the second trial and then eventually towards the end of these episodes, I feel like that's where shit just kind of hits the fan, because so much is happening at once and it starts to feel really hopeless. Because like that's where they introduce this other calamity, these rabbits. Yeah, they introduced that. Go ahead.
I would say there was just so much going on. There's because there was a lot for Subaru to handle. Because one, he was trying to do the trials and save Amelia. He was trying to go back to the mansion and save Rem and the little
all
girl.
Of them, yeah.
What's her name?
Petra.
And then there's fucking rabbits, a calamity coming and killing everyone.
There's fucking rabbits,
It seems impossible. So continue, Spooky. Go ahead.
No, and it's just like Roswell's over here, like, oh yeah, I hired these guys.
Yeah,
Like, you can't save everybody.
That was the best
I'm
part.
like, bruh.
My mind is fucking blown.
And Garfield keeps getting in their way every single time.
Yeah.
It's like everyone's just like,
Yeah, he was
constantly giving
annoying.
this man problems.
And the problem is, like, every time he uses the power to come back, he has more of the witch's smell on him, and he gets more people pissed off at him, right? So it just seems like such a lose-lose scenario, but he's looking for that, like, again, just like in Steins Gate, that one perfect way where he can save everyone and help everyone.
So, Spooky, what were your thoughts on Roswell?
So I still really like Roswell, but I'm like trying to understand his motivations a little more, because I get the entire purpose of how they introduce this future book, more or less. That's kind of like, hey, everything is going to happen. You just have to like let it. And he's trying to manipulate it behind the scenes. So I kind of like was always like, all right, what's up with this guy? You know, like, why is he never around? What's going on here? And now I just don't know what to think.
Yeah.
Like, I'm shook.
Yeah.
It's weird because we actually don't know what Roswell's goal is. We know he has a goal. He's definitely mentioned that he has a goal that he's trying to achieve and use Subaru to achieve in a way.
Yeah, because he knows about his power, even if he can't say it.
Yeah, because in that book, I'm guessing, like, all knowledge is present within that book.
Well, if it predicts the future, it probably says that, like, Subaru is going to kill himself in order to come back again using his power or something like that, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or something like, it's got to be something like that, because otherwise how would he know?
Yeah, it's such an enigma of a character, and although it's super interesting, I have no idea what to make of it, because clearly he's brutal, maybe because he knows things will be reset or whatever, but he's brutal when it comes to, killing Ram, someone who loves him, right? But then he dies without like crying about it. So
yeah, because he knows it'll be reset and it'll be fine. Like, this version of himself doesn't matter.
He even says to himself, "It's like, I don't like, you could return my death, Subaru. I can't. Like, I die here and now." Like, I feel
exactly.
He's accepting that, like, it's like another version of himself is the one that's going to keep going, and there's nothing he could do about it. I don't know if that's.
But he's okay with that.
He's okay with that.
Yeah,
exactly.
crazy.
And go ahead.
I just love the fact that Roswell is trying to. So Roswell has probably been paying close attention to Subaru throughout all of season 1, and he's realized that much like in the second trial, all Subaru does is sacrifice himself to save others, and he keeps on doing it over and over and over again until everything is perfect. And Roswell's trying to make him develop as like a person, or develop to be more similar to him and be willing to make sacrifices to achieve Subaru's goal, which maybe aligns with Roswell's goal or help Roswell achieve his future goal. He's like, yeah, just like make sacrifices along the way. Like, Roswell's the type of guy that will punch through Ram in order to kill Garfield if he doesn't think he's strong enough because he's injured. So it's like, let's get Subaru to that level. Let's make him realize that it's impossible to save everyone.
His not give a fuck level, Roswell's, is impressive.
Like, he's very, he has like a very like realistic approach where he's like, if it's not possible to save everyone, or he wants Subaru to come to the realization that it's not possible to save everyone sometimes, and he has to make choices.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how that develops, because Subaru for now has definitely been like, I want it both ways. He wants, obviously, to keep Rem as like the second woman in his heart, right? And then he wants like save everyone even when they're in different locations. So I look forward to seeing if he'll actually be able to do this without sacrificing one of those relationships.
Yeah, I think he's just going to have to rely on others, kind of like the second trial was teaching him to make that happen. Yeah. But something else I noticed too is back in season 1, do you guys remember during the ceremony of like the selection ceremony, whatever you would call it? There, like, as soon as Subaru started like smack talking the knights and like basically standing up, there was a moment where Roswell like smirked, and I'm in my head, I feel like that was the moment he realized that Subaru was like the person in his book that was gonna make all this stuff happen. Because after that moment, Subaru was never able to reset that ceremony. So I feel like somehow that was the moment where Roswell realized, like, oh yes, this is my guy. This is who's going to do it. I think
also maybe Roswell realized, like, he was happy that he wouldn't be able to reset those events.
Yeah,
like, he would have to go through some form of development now because of his actions versus just going back and fixing everything. He's happy about that, you know?
Just something I, like, I don't know. In
I
my
never
head, I feel
realized
like
that.
that connects together.
I
Yeah.
never realized that. Good point.
Because I was always like, why is this guy smirking? Like, what's going on with this guy? I want to know. And now I know. And like,
Virgin's got that big
Yeah.
brain.
I'm definitely the guy who was like, "Oh, Roswell is just always smirking."
Yeah, Roswell and
too.
Echidna are definitely my favorite characters. Dude, that
Yeah.
Echidna speech at the end when she finally starts being honest about the contract was so amazing.
mm-hmm.
She's
Yeah, and he
literally
doesn't take it. That's
the epitome of greed. She just it's not even that she wants like the better things in life. She just wants to experience everything that Subaru is getting to experience. Like she's greedy for the knowledge, the wisdom, the trauma, the pain, the joy.
Mm-hmm.
She wants it all. And like I feel like she's a perfect character to be the Witch of Greed.
Yeah.
yeah, no, for sure. And it's interesting how he didn't accept her contract, right?
Yes.
Because she was willing to give him the end he desired, but it would probably mean him like psychologically breaking down, going through torture, and the idea that he needed to love himself more made him to decide to go about it another way.
Mm-hmm. It's still kind of annoying me that he was so willing to accept the contract. Like it makes sense for Subaru and his character, so I'm not
Yeah.
that upset. But like, it hurt.
It's
it
such
hurt
a
my
weird
soul.
world. It's such a weird world that like you don't. I don't know. It's like, do you assume automatically that there will be negative stuff if you make a deal with her? You probably should.
You should 100% assume that if a witch is offering you like a witch, this is a witch of greed, is offering you something with apparently no value to herself. At least try to figure out what the value she's getting out of it is. Like,
Yeah.
she's
No,
not
you are
some-
a much
like Subaru
better. Yeah.
Subaru is assuming that she's a selfless individual, purely trying to help him with nothing in return, which is just so naive.
Yeah.
It's so.
I think he was
naive.
just getting desperate again because
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
because he couldn't do anything about either situation. Like somewhere, like we said, he's going to have to make a sacrifice, and then he has this option. He's like, "Oh, you mean I can sacrifice something of my own and everything will be fine? All right, let's go." But
Yeah, it's true. I think
luckily,
maybe
the other
that's
witches
another
stepped
thing,
in.
is, like, at that point, he hadn't really completed the second trial yet. So for him, it was like, let me just sacrifice myself again, and then I'll make everyone else happy. Let me just take this witch contract. Who cares about myself and what the bad repercussions are? But from my perspective, I'm like, for all you know, the witch is gonna take over your body and be like some magic genie bullshit where it's like, yes, I will make you achieve your desired result and give you all the wisdom. Oh yeah, but like I'm control your body. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. You definitely should be more careful. Definitely.
I thought it was very cool how Garfield's reaction was so different every time. Like most
I
characters
didn't even
act-
get it, bro. I didn't even get it.
I didn't understand either.
Most
Yeah, 'cause he
characters
was like-
are very predictable because they usually act in a similar way, if not slightly different. Garfield was all over the place. I
Yeah.
loved it.
Bro, the thing that confused me was like, yo, why don't you do it for her? And he's like, okay. And then next time he's like, I'll do the trial for her. And Garfield's like, yo, what the fuck? That's the worst idea ever. And it's like,
that
holy
was funny.
shit.
That was funny.
Oh,
Let me try to remember. I do remember thinking about it, and then this time around, I feel like I appreciated it a little bit more. Like it was like this time he came out and he was more like Roswell. He wasn't panicked. He was calm. He was like, yeah,
Ooh.
I'll do it. You
More
know?
like Roswell, eh?
Yeah, Garfield pointed out like you're just like that bastard Roswell. He
Oh
smells.
man, this is so interesting.
He
'cause-
smells
'cause-
more like the witch this time. So he comes out smelling like the witch, and rather than being panicked, like when Garfield or Garfell, whatever his name is, sees Subaru panicked and like traumatized, he realizes like, okay, like he's been through something, and he's trying to like get through this, and help. Versus when
Yeah.
someone comes out and they're like smelling like the witch, all calm, clearly plotting. Like he was plotting to like figure out how to do something, and so Garfield's more suspicious this time,
Yeah, it's definitely interesting because he's becoming, like you said, more and more like Roswell, while we're figuring out that the Witch of Envy was way more like Amelia than we thought she was. And it's going to be very interesting to see the relationship between, first of all, Roswell and Subaru, and then between Amelia and the Witch.
That's true, because Roswell's trying to make Subaru become like him, And then Garfield even points out you're kind of like him, this like plotting and
it's like is Roswell like a failed Subaru? Like I don't know. I don't
That's
know.
a good question.
We'll see because there's so much time stuff going on here that I have no idea, and I feel like Amelia would have probably said similar stuff that the Witch of Envy said about him loving himself and stuff like that. So the difference is not that big right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
we
I
just
feel
need to figure out. Yeah, we just need to figure out why like everyone hates the witch so much, and like the actual backstory.
Well,
yeah, there's a lot of lore.
I understand why people would hate witches, like in general. Like you got one witch that put calamities on the world. You got one witch that all she does is care about like is just greed, and then another one that like I don't know. I feel like these people have probably done a lot. Like think about the witch of greed. She created a sanctuary for basically test subjects on humans and like half breeds, where half breeds come in, they can't leave. And then this other person that's like immortal now was literally a test subject of the Witch of Greed for her to try to achieve immortality. So, like they've all probably had a negative impact on the world.
Yeah, I'm guessing our main one has had like the worst, but that's just a guess.
Yeah, Satella. Like what is Satella?
Yeah.
Very curious.
Yeah.
There's
and I guess
many
one
questions.
thing.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, like one thing I mentioned from one of our previous episodes was that I had a feeling that somehow how Subaru ended up in this world had to do with the with Satella. Yes. And while that's not confirmed or anything, we do know at the very least he has her power. Like that's confirmed. Like he has the Witch of Envy's return by death.
That's funny. And I've only watched. We're all caught up to the same point now, and I used to always assume that Satella brought him to the world, but I guess we don't actually know that if that's true or not.
Yeah. Well, we did hear that she wants him to kill her. That was stated. So it seems like she might have brought him here to kill her, but obviously that's not confirmed.
Yeah.
But again, it's kind of like a Beatrice thing which we didn't talk about that much, but yeah, Beatrice is waiting for this person because of the Witch of Greed. Beatrice is waiting for this person to come and finally end her life.
Yeah, it was all just kind of like a prank. Like she didn't even mean what she said. When it comes to that person.
Yeah, I guess it's like that
she wanted
sociopath.
She wanted to experience. She wanted to like get like the joy of like seeing what she chooses. Like I feel like her like test subjects within the world bring her joy to see like how they act. Like she's been watching Subaru just for the entertainment value.
Yeah, she has no empathy, right? It's like that experiment. I don't know if you guys ever watched Community. But there's this one experiment that they do where they're like, oh, the experiment will start in 5 minutes. And they keep saying that and it never starts. And they watch people like just break down. And it's kind of that kind of situation. It's like, oh, how long will she wait? All right, 10 years, 100 years. All right.
400 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, how do you guys feel about the whole Beatrice Subaru moments?
Yeah, obviously, like, I'm not usually a fan of the Lolly relationship, but I do think she's very nice, and I think that it's wholesome and it's heartwarming the way she tries to protect Subaru even when he's trying to kill himself.
Yeah, I just think it's heartwarming that in a way she like hopes he's the person she's looking for, and like. I don't know. It's tough because, like, you want him to be able to save her, but the way she wants to be saved, like, conflicts with so many other things that it's like...
now she's kind of given up on being saved to a certain extent. Her savior is, like, Subaru, kill me.
Yeah, that's what she considers being saved at this point, and obviously Subaru doesn't want to do that.
Yeah, well, it's either that or make her his single priority.
His single priority.
He can't do that either.
He's got Rem and Amelia, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, 1, 2, and she could be 3, but like she can't be 3, right? She needs like to be number 1.
You know what? Respect.
Again,
I respect that more than Rem wanting to be number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. Rem definitely. He's just gonna wait around no matter how low he puts her on the list.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
So I feel like. Overall, it's just like they're setting up so much conflict, and I'm hoping some of it gets resolved.
Yeah, I'm very excited because next week we're doing season 2 part 2, and like the entire world just seems doomed. Everything seems doomed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have
how are they
Subaru
gonna get out of
undergoing the trials at least, which is the one thing that it seems like he's making progress on. But other than that, we got fucking rabbits, we got Amelia and Rem
Roswell.
and Roswell, and it's everyone seems doomed, and he can't save everyone. And Beatrice, like, what is he supposed to do?
Yeah, like I'm curious if he will actually find a way to save everyone through the power of friendship, or
And
if
it's like-
something's gotta go.
Yeah, I guess that's all he could hope for, but I don't know if it's at all like a directed towards a bit of an older audience. Because I'm not sure exactly what the classification is of this one for the demographics, but I feel like he will have to make some sacrifices. He can't just have everyone be totally happy in the end, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, that's what Roswell's trying to teach him, but then the trials are also trying to teach him like you could rely on other people and you don't need to always sacrifice yourself. So it's like
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
very curious how it's what. Honestly, I have no idea what's going to happen in the next part.
Triple virgin. Virgin squared.
Triple version, exactly.
Virgin squared.
No, I can't wait for that. All right. So we don't need to say the exact episodes because I'll probably add it into the description of the podcast episode, but it's just said the second part of season 2. So
Well, yeah, they aired
yeah.
separately, and they're kind of like they're the same season, but like on any website you go to, it's like it says season 2 part 2, so we're just watching all of that.
Exactly. All right.
Whatever's left.
And until next time, see ya, Space Cowboys.
Bang!
I'm not leaving.
I'm not fucking leaving.